Hello and welcome to the Dream is Real podcast. This is the place if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in New York real estate. Before we get started, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Don't want you to miss a thing as we continue to bring out some great episodes and some great guests. Have a treat today. I'm here with Stephen Aponte, one of our agents here. And Stephen, thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So tell the world a little bit about you. You weren't always in real estate, but you've gravitated this way, and you're a huge part of what we've got going on here in the momentum at the office. So tell us about Stephen.
Yeah, interesting story. Well, at least I think it's interesting. But I grew up in the technology space. So I recently left a 20-plus year career in tech. And, on that journey, towards the tail end of it, I was really getting interested in just learning more about real estate and more specifically on the investing side of real estate. And ironically, as I was thinking about that, my path and Lavar's path kind of collided together because our girls play basketball. We're playing basketball on the same team. And so that's kind of where, things really ignited, I guess, if I had to look back on that. And that's where my interest kind of grew, and I started to pursue this idea of being in real estate and getting into the investing side of real estate.
Now, when Lavar finds someone that he pins is going to be good at real estate, he's pretty persistent in his pursuit. Did he pursue you in that way?
He sure did.
I know it.
For sure. I put off, because, he was pushing me to kind of take the test and get my license, and I was pushing it off because I really didn't think I needed it. But he was persistent and convinced me, and it was the right choice. It was definitely the right choice.
Awesome. And where exactly in tech were you working prior?
Yeah, so I've been in every stage of a company's growth. I worked in startups to mid-stage all the way to billion-dollar enterprises. And I've been in various product development, leadership type of roles. So my core background, I would say the first part of my background was being a real techie type of individual, managing large data centers and such. And then that transitioned into a product development and leadership role in that space. And so I spent probably the last 15 years of my career building software products for various startups, mid-stage, and large global enterprises.
And what attracted you to real estate? Because I think you had said maybe even prior to us starting here that you always were kind of drawn to it. It was always something that you felt like you might do one day. What was kind of that pivot point that made you take the step?
Yeah, I always had this desire to learn about the space just because of various interactions with people and videos I've seen on things like YouTube and such. And I've had this desire of learning about, creating, the passive income, leveraging real estate. And that's what kind of prompted my desire to kind of come into this space. And as I started to research more and more and read about it and watch videos about it, it really kind of was, that culmination kind of brought me to this point here, which was, meeting Lavar and talking to him about his experience in real estate. And then, eventually me pursuing that real estate license, which gives me the knowledge and the leverage to actually be successful in the investing space.
So that was the initial interest, was the investment piece, which of course, anybody who talks to Lavar for any point in time, that is definitely a specialty of his. I have a similar story meeting Lavar, crossing paths in one of our offices and next thing being, here as well. Yeah. So now taking that step, becoming an agent, what has that been like? Have there been any surprises for you in terms of what you had always anticipated?
Yeah, I would say I definitely took for granted what my own real estate agents have done for me in the past from a work perspective. When you think about what a real estate agent does, in my mind back, before I actually knew anything, it was like, oh yeah, all they're doing is helping me sell a house or buy a house. What more to it is there? And now that I'm actually in that and have done that, have actually just sold a home recently for a friend of mine, you don't realize how many steps and all of the detail that's involved in getting a home successfully sold in the market.
Maybe for the audience, you can map some of that out as to what you, by using your own words, in a sense, took for granted as the client, but now as the agent, you see the amount of work. What are some of the steps that maybe potential buyer or seller might not understand that the agent plays a huge role in?
Yeah, something as simple as just managing the traffic and the flow of potential buyers coming to the house. It sounds simple, but you have buyers that have schedules that span the gamut. Some can see the home in the morning, some in the afternoon, some late at night.
Right.
And so you're literally trying to and this is just for one house. Like if you have multiple listings, just exponentially multiply, the amount of calls, texts, emails that you're getting as an agent for all these various requests to come see the home, aside from managing open houses every weekend, right? An open house is kind of a separate beast of its own. Although, once you have the process down, right, it becomes easier and easier over time. But all that to say is that, it can be very time consuming if you're not strategic on how, in this particular example, how you're going to show the home to potential buyers.
Right.
So for example, if I just let anyone and everyone call me and ask for and request to see the home at any time during the day, I could get a request for 9 in the morning, 12 p.m., and then 5 p.m., and now I'm running back and forth to the house at those times. Or I could be strategic about it, which is what I learned, is let's create a window of time that the homeowner can show from, let's say, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., so that all the requests come in for that window. And if they can't make that window, then I'll get some special requests to see it at another time, but at least the bulk of them are going to fall into that window.
So you're saying set some parameters around viewings and then, of course, be flexible, right? The best
Absolutely.
ability sometimes is availability.
Absolutely.
So to properly serve the clients, you've got to be there. But you're talking about kind of setting a standard, and then most circumstances will fall within that standard.
Correct.
Awesome.
Are you a homeowner who is looking to expand your home so you have enough space for everything you need in your home? Or do you want to renovate because the interior just doesn't work for your needs anymore? Or are you someone who's looking for a property, but nothing that you've been looking at really fits what you need? Well, my name is Catherine Serrano Sosa. I'm the founder of Rooted Architecture Studio, and I can help you bring those renovations and adjustments to life. At Rooted Architecture Studio, we focus on creating meaningful, inclusive, client-centric designs for homeowners and investors. We walk you through the whole process of design and construction and making sure that you understand what's going on, but take away all the layers so you can sit back and just focus on the deliverables of what we're designing. We make sure that your non-negotiables are integrated and your wants and needs are integrated to the best of our abilities. So if you are looking to do anything that I just discussed, or just have ideas that you might want to talk about what the possibilities may be, give us a call and reach out through social media as well, and we'll be happy to help you. And if you're looking for a new property, make sure to connect with Dream Select Realty. They're the right people to help you find the right property for you and make sure that your needs are integrated. Or if we're renovating, we can all collaborate together to bring that vision to life.
So tell us a little bit about some of your experience so far, some of your dealings, some of the clients that you've helped, maybe venturing into, I know you've delved into the wholesale side of things. So where would you like to start?
Yeah, I mean, on the agency side, like I just mentioned, I sold my first house, for the brokerage, and it was a friend of mine, so it was a really good experience. But I will say that even though it may have felt "quote unquote" easy, nothing is easy in this life. Right?
Every transaction is unique in its own nature.
It's very unique. Sure. Like you can read all the manuals, you can get all the training, you can speak to all the people, and you will have a unique experience in each transaction that will force you to either learn something new or ask a whole lot of questions and find out what those answers are. So that's interesting. On the wholesale side, which is really kind of what prompted me to dive deeper into real estate. We're just getting started on that. Lavar and I just started basically a wholesale department, and the goal behind that is essentially to create a new revenue stream, new income opportunities for everyone here in the office, in the investing space, where we're basically essentially trying to get off-market deals in a wholesale transaction.
Yeah, maybe if for the audience you could share a little bit about what wholesaling in real estate is.
Sure. So the easiest way to describe it is you essentially have folks that fall into less than a handful of categories. They're either in a distressed state, so that distressed state could be pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, tax delinquent, or some other situation where they just need to sell quickly, and you are there to help them solve a problem, so that they don't go into foreclosure and lose the home.
Sure.
And they can actually walk away with some money in their pocket and still keep their credit and all that other stuff. But you also have homeowners, let's say, that are just absentee homeowners who may live in some other state but still has a home in New York. They might be renting it out. They might not be renting it out, but they just need to get rid of the home, and it's been lingering, and they've been flopping back and forth. Should we sell it? Should we not sell it? And so as you're out there talking to these people, you help them come to the realization that the best situation for them is to sell the house. And so wholesaling the home in those scenarios is really just offering them a cash offer price that more than likely is at a discount than retail, but the benefit to them is you can sell this house really quickly.
Sure.
In New York, when you go through the whole mortgage process and a typical retail sale, that could take months. Those people are not looking for a transaction to happen in months. They want it to happen in weeks. And a wholesale transaction can help make that happen when you have cash buyers on the other side.
Right. And you mentioned a myriad of possibilities. Sometimes, right, unfortunately, somebody passes away, the family's got it, everything's been shifted over from the legal perspective, and now it's like, what do we do with this property? That would be a situation where you can come in, because the transactions could be very quick in this market as well with the inventory, but you also now have to navigate, multiple offers and offers that go through and then don't. And so you're saying a lot of these wholesale opportunities are those that are looking to get a good amount, but at the same time kind of mitigate the whole typical transaction process.
Exactly. And these folks who are for whatever reason, unfortunately, in a distressed kind of state, they can't afford to, for example, list their home and be on the market for 1, 2, 3, 4 months.
Right.
Because by the time that lapses, they could potentially lose.
Yeah, you're right. You're on the cusp of a foreclosure, and even if you have someone right away, it deals fall through, and then you find yourself in almost an irreversible situation, right?
As a perfect example, the house that I just sold on the retail market. We did have a buyer come in, make an offer, accepted the offer, and everything was looking great. And by the way, my seller is moving out of state, and they were kind of somewhat in a rush to get this done. And we thought, we had the bow tied and everything was a wrap, until that buyer came back and a situation came up and they couldn't follow through with the process, and it ended up just falling through. And so that set us back another 30 days. Just that one dropout, because we had to go back and bring all the interested parties back into the house to see the home, start that whole process all over again, get the open houses going again, and it wasn't necessarily a complete start over, but it did set us back quite a bit.
Sometimes it can be though, right? I mean, it just depends if you have 2, 3, 4 on the hook, and then they find their own homes.
Yeah.
It is a restart. How do you control the homeowner's expectations in those scenarios?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be extremely transparent and communicative with the seller, with both sides really, but especially your client, because they don't understand all of the intricacies that go on in a transaction.
Right.
Right. Again, going back to my story from before, as someone who has bought and sold homes for myself, you don't fully understand every single step that's involved along the way and where things can kind of break and fall apart. And so walking them through that, walking my client through that on a consistent basis kind of helped, kind of relieve some of the anxiety. Even though we had someone come in, make a great offer, and drop out, they were still not overly anxious about getting the house sold because I was helping them understand that, hey, this is just part of the process.
Sure.
You're going to have these situations where someone comes in and, they say X, Y, and Z, but they don't reveal to you A, B, and C. And then until that time comes where, the rubber meets the road, they back out and you end up losing the deal.
And I think that's part of serving the client with the fiduciary, responsibilities, is helping them to understand that there are things that, as a seller, you can control, right? And we often have individuals here like title professionals or inspection professionals that will say, yeah, there are some things prior that you can that you can do, that you can prepare for, but in like your case, you just don't know, right? But I would have to imagine that the seller got a taste of what it's going to be, and knowing that there are other buyers out there, right? It's just a matter of finding the right one at the right time. So, as far as your mindset, if we go back to your kind of ascension through tech and then coming into real estate, do you feel like there are any qualities that you've obtained through your early career that are now working well for you in this space?
For sure. As we all know, we're all living in 2025 where technology literally is taking over the world, and, without being over exaggerative, right? As some folks are, saying that AI is just going to obliterate every job possible. There is some truth to the fact that you have to be somewhat tech savvy to some degree to
Sure.
really be successful in most of these professions today. And in real estate, being a technologist has helped me significantly. Like just being able to come in and use different softwares that, for example, the brokerage uses without needing any formal training, right? Where a typical, maybe a new real estate agent who doesn't have a tech background would need 3 to 4 weeks to ramp up. I'm ramped up in a day
Sure.
or two because I just have a knack for technology.
And I think you being a great addition to the team, we have a tech-minded office here in a lot of ways. So leveraging the tools, and I think anybody out there that's listening that is either a buyer, seller, investor, when you're looking to put your team around, it's one thing to talk with an individual that has been doing this for 40 years, and definitely not, nothing wrong with that, but making sure that they have an understanding of how to use technology, because it is a competitive market out there. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely.
And the tools that your broker, your entire team uses to help to expedite the process, or to be able to, maybe get some visibility into areas that wouldn't. I mean, it's mission critical these days. What are some of the steps that you are leveraging from a technology standpoint that you feel like are helping you right out of the gate?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, being able to just jump in and take advantage of all those tools that the brokerage offers is a huge advantage that helped me get up to speed really quickly. Being able to, take a listing, for example, from a good friend of mine, and being able to learn the steps and the processes of how to sell that home, leveraging technology and using that to my advantage to help the transaction move quicker was huge. I would say if I didn't have that technology experience, it probably would have taken me some more time, or I would have been knocking on people's doors here in the office saying, hey, I need help with this, or I need help with
Sure.
that. And that would essentially add more time to the schedule as well.
Can you give some examples, either through research or to various tools that helped, particularly in that transaction, or may help in future transactions?
Yeah, I think leveraging tools, like, whether it's ChatGPT, Perplexity, or some other AI tool, can go a long way, right? In, for example, helping you to craft messaging or craft listings. Something. It sounds simple, right? Like, well, writing a listing shouldn't be that hard, but you'd be surprised how long you sit at a computer trying to write paragraphs of describing a home, when you can literally type something in ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT a question with an image of the home, and it can just spit out a perfect listing description,
Right.
based on the criteria that you gave. So you take something that might, take you an hour or two down to minutes, but then apply that to other areas of real estate, and you've saved a lot of time.
So that makes you and us as agents more efficient for sure. And I think that you would agree with me. You and I have similar backgrounds in tech coming into this, that it's important to be human-led but AI-assisted, right? Because
Absolutely.
these tools require someone, one, who knows to use them, maybe two, knows how to use them, but then also to maximize them, because it's not as simple as just throwing a prompt in there and getting what spits it out. You really have to stage it and set that up, right?
That's right. And the other piece of my background in product development that really has helped is this idea of being user-centered, right? And having a user-first mindset in product development, which essentially, the easiest way to describe it is, as opposed to just taking technology and applying it to a solution, it's really more about understanding what the problem is that you're solving for that particular user, and making sure that they're involved in the process as you develop the end product.
Sure.
Right? The old school way of building software was, okay, there's a problem, I'm going to just throw software at it and see what works. The new way of doing it is, I'm going to spend a lot of time with the user and understand what exactly we're trying to solve for, and have them involved in the process as we're developing the software to make it successful. Similarly, in real estate, you can apply those kind of same concepts, which is involving your client in the process as much as possible, so that you remove friction and you remove all the wasted time that can happen if you're just off on your own doing this thing called selling a house, while the seller is sitting, in their home waiting for you to, make the magic happen.
Sure.
Right? And, you might be fooled and deceived in thinking that, oh, I'm this great real estate agent, I can just easily, do these X, Y, and Z and these steps 1 through 3 and not involve the seller. But in reality, you're just wasting a lot of time, and by not involving them early on, it could potentially lead to issues down the road.
And that's where, at least at this point, we don't know. AI can go in a lot of different places, but having the ability to sit down with you ask the right questions, and then based upon that human interaction, right? Because a lot of people use the term B2B, business to business, B2C. Really, human to human is the end game, and it's strong, but it's a matter of using the right tools once that human to human contact establishes the need. Or in my career, it's always been spin selling, right? Understanding the situation, the problem, what's the implication of those problems, and what's the need payoff if we solve those problems, right? But now having the technology to expedite the results and maybe fine tune the results, it can really be the differentiator there. So, I think you would probably give the same advice, and maybe I'll kick it to you about what advice would you give, and we'll kind of put that two ways. What advice would you give agents out there, and then now that you've got some of this industry under your belt, and what advice would you give to the buyer or the seller?
Yeah, it's a great question. For agents, I would say embrace the change that's coming, especially regarding AI and just the advancement of technology. Because the reality is, if you don't embrace it, you're going to be left behind. And so really take the time, to the best you can, to learn how you can use the technology, including AI, which maybe that's another topic we can talk about down the road.
We should.
Because it is a vast world out there regarding AI. But on the surface, leveraging simple tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity or others can go a long way as you're working as an agent. And for buyers and sellers, similarly, I think it really comes down to the communication aspect between the buyer, the seller, and the agent themselves. That communication has to be clear and concise because, we live in a digital age where things are just moving very fast. And the sooner and faster an agent can get the information they need to be successful to sell your home or help you buy a home, then the faster the process will be. But if you're coming to the table as, let's say, as an example, as a buyer, and it's not clear in your mind, or maybe you have a spouse and you two are not clear on what it is that you want, it's just like product development, right? If I'm talking to someone and I'm building software for someone and they're unclear about those requirements,
Sure.
Well, I think I want X, I think I want Y, maybe I want Z, I can't build software off of that.
No. And again, being that we have similar backgrounds, I understand that completely. You can chart A to Z, but if something changes at, LMN, then it disrupts the entire
Sure.
process, for sure. So loaded question to close us out here. As you watch what's going on in technology and as you begin to develop your skill set here in the real estate side, do you have any predictions about maybe some changes coming down the pike?
It's a really good question. I try to at least tell myself I'm a realist, right, and not a pessimist. My wife may argue with that, or debate with that.
I'll have to bring her on it.
But I would say that this whole hype around AI is going to have temporary changes that impact every industry that we know today. But at some point, it's going to balance out. And I think we're starting to see some of that balancing now. We if you pay close attention to technology news, you see these major corporations laying off people, bringing in AI agents to do things like selling and customer service and all these things. And they're now realizing that, hey, this might not be the best idea. Our customers are upset. We're not selling more. We're actually selling less, and we're spending money. And so they're actually rehiring people that they fired to come back and do their old job.
Right.
And what they're really come to the conclusion of is AI can actually make my current employees more efficient and better at what they do, as opposed to replacing them completely.
That was a sentiment. I just came back from the Techonomy conference a little while ago, and although they did say there's a guaranteed displacement in some degree, ultimately AI is going to make, and if you use it properly and lead with it properly, it's going to enhance your staff's ability to do their job better. And that's awesome. So I guess if you're listening here and you are looking to work with a real estate professional, you're going to want to ask that professional, hey, how in tune are you with today's technology and how committed are you to embracing it as it continues to grow? You could do that, or you could just call Stephen Aponte, who I think through this program you realize is on the forefront of everything technology, and you'll handle everything for them, right?
For sure.
Awesome. Well, how could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways you can get in touch with me. Email at, the agency here is sapontejr@dreamselectrealty.com. I'm also on Instagram. You could find me there, JRNYC05. And I'm on every social media platform known to man, so I'm easily findable.
Not hard to find you, and I'm glad that we got to talk today. I'm sure you and I will be doing something like this more so going forward. And if you want to follow us as well, you can go on Instagram and TikTok at Dream Select Realty, on X at Dream Select Home. You can find all of our properties, connect with us on our website at dreamselectrealty.com. If you want to be part of the program, home team at dreamselectrealty.com is where to email. And we will see you next time. Just remember, like, share, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We want you to stick with us, and the dream is absolutely real. We'll see you next time.